Hi there, this is Andrew from the Road Cyclist Guide here again with my blog post, which is 67 road cycling tips, which is a massive, great big long post, longer than I thought it would ever be. I was sort of aiming for 100, but it came out at 67. I'm not going to go through all 67 in this video, but I've just got a small list of 5 top tips here, really, just to give you a bit of a flavour, and then you can go on and click on the link below and have a read of the other 62, which hopefully you will find useful and helpful. So my first top tip, which is an obvious one, which you'll hear everywhere, but is really, really important, and I know I don't do all the time, is that you need to warm up before every single ride or at the beginning of every ride. So it's so tempting. I do it myself. The window here, I just like to think of myself sort of whizzing out of the drive end and up the road, standing on my pedals, going from 0 to 20 miles an hour in 2 seconds, which is really not great for your cardiovascular system. It's not great for your muscles. The risk of you pulling a muscle, the risk of you tearing something, putting extra strain on your heart, particularly your heart and your lungs, is really, this is what really does, really does happen. And you need to just ease your body off the sofa gradually. And warming up it can take sort of 10 or 15 minutes. Interestingly, wearing a heart monitor will give you a really good indication of how long it actually takes your whole sort of cardiovascular system to get to working level. And it's a good 10 or 15 minutes for me anyway, but then I'm quite old and slow, so it may be quicker for you. Okay, so warming up is really, really vitally important. Tip number 1. Tip number 2 of these 5 taster tips is to always carry some tools with you. This has happened to me through bitter experience. I've been able to walk back in my road shoes because I got a puncture somewhere with no puncture repair kit, no spare inner tube, no tie levers, like a complete idiot. You need a little pouch to put in the back of you or underneath your bike seat. A little toolkit, a multi-tool, so you can tighten anything up that needs tightening. You need a spare inner tube, you need a mini pump, and you need some tyre levers and some cash as an absolute minimum, so that if you are out on the road and when you get a puncture, which you will do, inevitably you can do a quick roadside repair. If the worst comes to the worst, if you've got some money, you can get a taxi back home. Take your phone with you also, so that if there is a case of emergency, you can actually do that. My main concern at the moment, it's winter here in the UK, my main concern at the moment is being, 25 miles from home, like I was yesterday when I cycled. It's barely above freezing. It's fine while you're moving. My concern always in a cycle ride is wearing pretty much skimpy clothing in that sort of weather, having to stop, having to change a puncture, getting very, very cold. And if you stop for 20 minutes or half an hour, you would actually start to feel pretty uncomfortable. So my thing in this sort of weather particularly is always to have some cash with me. And actually in that sort of scenario, I think I would just buy the bullet and I order a big taxi home, to be honest, and put the bike in it, take the wheels off it. Okay, next one. On your bike ride, vary your position. Do it methodically. Every 5-10 minutes. It breaks up the time a little bit, but try and make sure that you're not sitting in exactly the same rigid spot, the same place all the time. Else you get tight, you get tension in your neck, in your back, in your butt muscles. And this isn't just, in my experience, it's not just changing from the drops to the tops and riding on the hoods and things. It's a case of shifting your weight slightly in the saddle. It's a case of standing on the pedals every 10 minutes or so, because it sort of changes the position. Let's say get a blood go down to your nether regions, which is rather good if you're getting a bit numb. It's changing the slight weight distribution on your backside a little bit. Changing as much as you can, keeping moving, always looking for that optimum position. Keep your pelvis moving as well, so that the lower back doesn't stiffen up, if you can do while you're cycling a little bit. Really, really helps over the long term if you can do this methodically every 5 or 10 minutes during a ride. Number 4, have a plan. I think in many ways, cycling is lovely. It's wonderful, and sometimes it's absolutely brilliant to go out there, get on your bike, go and do whatever you want to do, and disappear into the sunset for 2 hours and then come back. However, over a period of time, that sort of cycling gets a bit boring. You need something as a road cyclist, I think, particularly if you're doing this for fitness. you need something a little bit more structured than that. So my fourth sort of top tip from the 67 is to have a plan, have a training plan, no matter how vague that is, and have some sort of goal in mind, so that in 3 months you can cycle 10 miles in 40 minutes, say, for example, or 30 minutes, or or you can lose a stone in weight in 3 months or something, or you can maybe aim to go to a sportif or something, or some sort of event. Some sort of goal that's personal to you. I think it's really important not to look at everybody else and what they're doing, and to compare yourself with others, really, in many ways. I think it's really good just to have your own personal goal and then sort of work out how you can achieve that over the next 3-4 months or something. And then your cycling has a bit of purpose. You can start to structure your cycling sessions. You can start to sort of see your progress. If you have that goal in your mind and you have that purpose in mind, it makes it a lot more fruitful, a lot more sort of, it's really motivational. So I think riding vaguely for pleasure whenever you feel like it is great, but if you really want to make progress and really get that great sort of cycling feeling of, something really happening and that real joy that you can have from progressing on your bike, then having a plan is really, really important. And the fifth one is a really important one, quite a serious one, about cycle safety. And I see it here in Cambridge so often. This is the cycle city of Cambridge. It's the cycle city of the UK in many ways. It's very flat. There are thousands of cyclists in Cambridge. And I see this so often of inexperienced cyclists cycling up the left-hand side of cars, and particularly big vehicles, which is putting themselves in real danger. The number of times a cycle, on a bike you're going like that and a car can cut across you without seeing you in their blind spot is incredible. And the cycle lanes in the UK here particularly, which are often along the left-hand side for us, encourage you to do that, and it's really, really bad. And the number of times I saw somebody knocked off a bike actually at a petrol station a couple of weeks ago by exactly the same thing, cycling along crash. Do not cycle up the left-hand side or the inside of vehicles, or if you're in if you're in the States, it's the right-hand side for you, isn't it? Depending on which side, but it's the inside of vehicles, because there's a blind spot. Motorists can't see you. They don't expect you to be there. I to a certain extent, I don't use cycle lanes. I find them scary because you're sort of squashed in. You've got this left-hand turn issue all the time. They're inevitably bumpy. They're inevitably full of slow cyclists. They're inevitably full of all the crap off the roads that gives me punctures, little bits of grit and stuff and glass and so on and so forth. If you're in slow moving traffic, I go on the outside and I overtake them on the outside, where I'm really visible, really obvious. I can really be seen. And I think personally it's a lot safer. If you do motorbike training, that's what you're taught to do, never to go along the inside. Okay, so that's 5 of the 67 top road cycling tips. If you'd like to find out more, then click on the link below to the Road Cyclist Guide, and I'll hopefully see you in the blog post. Thanks very much. Bye.